Hi gardeners! Today is September 13th and I'm getting ready to direct sow some zucchini and squash and some green beans into some of my raised beds. This raised bed is just a little under 8 feet by 3 feet. It's actually about just a little over 20 square feet of soil, and I've already weeded it and I'm ready to add some fertilizer and direct seed my plants. A couple of things I should probably mention is that even though I pulled all the weeds out of this bed, I left this dandelion here. Some people consider that a weed, but I actually grow it on purpose because I eat the greens, usually more in the springtime. They're probably pretty bitter right now, but dandelion greens are good for you. So I had planted this here in the springtime and it's still thriving even through this summer. So it'll be happy here in the winter, so I'm just gonna leave it here. Also, I wanted to mention that I do use compost in my raised beds, but I already added some compost to this bed earlier this year in January, so I'm not adding more at this planting, but I will add more for the next planting that I do in this bed, most likely. So first I'm gonna add some organic fertilizer. The bag says for new garden bed preparation, apply 1 cup of fertilizer for every 10 square feet of bed space. So since this bed is just a little over 20 square feet, I'm going to add 2 generous cups of this fertilizer. So here's 1 cup, and I'm just going to sprinkle it. Try to sprinkle it kind of evenly. And here is the 2nd cup of fertilizer. And I'm going to sprinkle this on the other side of the bed. Since it's hard to sprinkle the fertilizer evenly, I'm just going to take my rake and try to mix it around so it's mixed in a little more evenly. So I have my fertilizer distributed pretty evenly now across the bed, and I'm getting ready to plant some zucchini in this bed. This is Coca-Zel zucchini. This is my favorite one that I've tried so far. And zucchini needs approximately 3 feet by 3 feet of space in the garden. They get pretty huge. So just to show you, I laid out this measuring tape so you can see what 3 feet of the bed would look like. So it's gonna take up pretty much this whole area that you see in the frame right here. So I'm gonna just plant the seeds pretty much like right in the middle of this area, which will be like right around here, so it can spread out in all directions. And this bed is almost 8 feet long, so I could fit 2 zucchini plants in one bed, and sometimes I do plant them together in the same bed, but this time I'm gonna sow beans in the other half of the bed. Beans and squash are good garden companions, so it'll be no problem for them to share the same bed. So I'll put the zucchini on this side, and then I'll fill the rest of the bed with green beans. So I'm also gonna sprinkle around just a little bit of dolomite lime just in the area where the zucchini is going, just to add a little bit of calcium to the soil to help prevent blossom and rot in the fruits. This is just a little less than 1/4 cup. I don't want to put a whole lot because I think I've put dolomite lime out here in past seasons, and I don't want it to build up too much in the soil. There is such a thing as too much. So I'm just gonna put that little bit and then work it into the top couple inches of the soil. So zucchini and squash seeds are kind of large. You can see them here in my hand, and they're supposed to be planted about a ½ inch to an inch deep in the soil. So I made a little indentation in the soil there that's approximately like an inch deep. And I'm going to go ahead and plant 3 seeds in the same hole. A couple of these seeds look a little bit scraped up and kind of rough, so I'm concerned that they might not all germinate. So I'm going to go ahead and plant 3 in case they don't all germinate. And then if they do all germinate, then I will thin them and just keep 1 healthy seedling when they emerge from the soil. So if there's more than 1 that germinates, I'll cut the extra ones and just keep 1. So I'm going to go ahead and put these 3 in the hole. So I've put the 3 seeds in the same hole. They're not right on top of each other, but they're pretty close together in the hole, and I'm going to go ahead and cover them up with the soil. And that's it. So the zucchini is direct seeded, and I've just added its little plant label. And I just want to add one other thing, which is that I'm going to plant this borage seedling out here next to the zucchini when it gets a little bit bigger. Borage is a good companion plant for zucchini because it attracts beneficial insects that help to hopefully minimize some of the pests that attack the zucchini plants. So it's also a really pretty, has a really pretty flower. So I'm actually going to pot this up into the next size pot, and then when it gets bigger, I'm going to put it out here next to the zucchini. So now I'm going to fill the rest of this raised bed with Provider variety green beans. Some people plant beans by making a trench and making like several rows, and then they sprinkle the bean seeds along the trench, and then they come back and thin them when they're all germinated so that they're the correct spacing. But thinning means that you're killing some of them. So they're supposed to be spaced out by 4 inches, and I don't have enough beans in this little packet here to waste any. It's just an ounce. It's not a ton of beans here, so I don't want to waste any, so I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to actually go ahead and make holes approximately 4 inches apart, and then just sow the beans in the recommended spacing. If they don't all germinate, I'll come back and add some more beans in the missing spots where they didn't germinate. So I figured out that I measured my fingers, the width from my index finger to my pinky finger is approximately 4.5 inches. So I'm just going to use my hand as a guide and just make holes that are approximately 4 inches apart, just using my hands. So normally I use 2 hands to do this, but I can do it with one-handed for this demonstration. So if I dig a hole here, that's like 4 inches from the edge, and then if I dig another little hole there, it's actually probably a little bit more than 4 inches because, like I said, my finger span is about 4.5 inches, but it's pretty close. So make another one, make another one. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep going like that and fill up this whole space with little holes that are approximately 4 inches apart, and then I'll come back and plant the beans in the holes. Okay, so I made my little holes, and of course they're not perfect. I mean, they're not exactly spaced by 4 inches, but it's pretty close. It'll work. And each of the holes are approximately an inch deep. The beans should be planted about an inch, anywhere from like a ½ inch to 2 inches. So I'm just going to go back through and put 1 bean in each little hole. Okay, so now I have filled all the little holes with with a bean in each one. And I counted 36 that I've planted. And now I'm just gonna go back, now that I know that all the holes are filled with a seed, I'm just gonna go back and cover them up with soil. And then when I'm done with that, I'm gonna water everything in. Okay, so all of the seeds are planted and covered up, and I'm just watering everything in real good. And I'm done. Now I need to move on to the next bed now. So it's been 4 days since I planted my seeds, and if you look close, you can see that the seedlings are already starting to pop up. This is a zucchini seedling that's starting to emerge from the soil. And over on this side of the bed, my green bean seedlings are also starting to emerge from the surface of the soil. It's rained every day since the day that I planted the seeds, including the day that I planted them. And as you can see, they've germinated really quickly. Beans and squash and cucumbers and zucchini all grow really fast, and they don't like their roots to be disturbed. So that's one of the reasons why I try to direct sow them whenever possible.